Hey, Jenny, what's cooking?
A lot of stuff's cooking, Jonathan. It's November already. How did that happen?
I don't know. It's weird. Like we're all of a sudden into fall, and it became fall all at once, and it's
been such a beautiful fall. Hasn't this been the most?
It has been. Yeah,
it
took the trees a long time to change, so we've really had a lot of time before life has driven us inside to our kitchens.
But they're absolutely beautiful.
They are absolutely.
They've kind of driven me out of my kitchen and outside.
Well, that too. But the weather's about to push us back in, where we can play with all of our kitchen gadgets.
Time to carb load.
Time to carb load, and time to mess around in the kitchen with all of our fun stuff. Because this is What's Cooking Now, where food is love and love is delicious. Coming to you from the hills of Appalachia to the world, from the grounds of the lovely Hyndman Settlement School, with thanks to the Kentucky Humanities Council. So Jenny, what are we doing tonight?
You know, Jonathan, you are a man who has every cool gadget that exists in your kitchen. And my kitchen is this big, so I don't have very many cool gadgets, but it's fun when you like to cook. It's fun to think about different gadgets. And when we were thinking about this show and what our favorite kitchen gadgets were, I was remembering that classic Wendell Berry essay, Why I Won't Buy a Computer. Mm-hmm. And in that essay, Waffle Iron, he lays out his conditions for adopting new technology. Mm-hmm. And he's got these different things. It should cost, it should be reparable close to home. It should not replace anything that's good with relationships, all these things. But I love to have students write about that essay, and we talk about how, how do we define technology? How do we define gadget? Like, for instance, is a knife a gadget? Is a silicone non-melting pastry brush a gadget? Like, how do you define gadget?
I mean, to me, a gadget is something that is, it's just anything that I use in the kitchen, really. Like, we were talking about our favorite kitchen gadgets, and I thought about this thing right here, which is my box grater. It's a particular box grater that I bought years ago, and this is, I would call this a gadget because it's something that I use that I would have some difficulty working without, but I use this thing every day. I use to do something. It seems like I use this grater all the time. So to me, that's a great gadget. But even if you have, I think a lot of times when we think gadgets, we think something that we only pull out on special occasions. We only pull out on, maybe once or twice every now and then, not something that we use every day.
Or when I think of gadgets, sometimes I think, do you have to plug it in? Is it some kind of machine? Does it do something different? But you brought a pretty basic gadget.
I have brought something. Well, we'll talk about mine. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, because what I've got here is the smoking gun. Now, those of you who've been around my house have probably seen me use this thing. But what this does is it creates smoke. And it gives us a little bit of smoke on something. And it doesn't, it's not like a smoker. It's not like the big thing you've got out on the patio. You're not going to get that level of smoke. You're not going to get penetrating smoke.
You're not going to be able to do a brisket in this?
No, but you're going to get a nice level of, for one thing, cold smoke. Mm-hmm. But for another thing, it's going to be mostly on the surface of whatever whatever it is that you're smoking. So what you want to do is increase surface area.
Right.
So one thing you want to do is increase surface area. The other thing you want to do is try to get whatever it is cold, because cold things take up smoke better.
Really? I didn't know that.
So what I have here is some butter, and I've used the good stuff here. This is Plugra. This is worth doing the good stuff.
I love butter, and I love like that Amish butter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's butter to cook with or whatever, but when you're really doing something special with
when you're
butter,
doing something good,
I feel like it's worth the splurge.
So what I'm going to do here, and it's not a terrible splurge. For some reason, Plugra is just incredibly inexpensive at Food City.
Really? I need to run over there.
They'll occasionally have it on sale for like $2.50 a block, and it's like, for that, there's no reason to use any other butter. I really like Kerrygold too, but what I'm doing here is I'm going to grate this butter down. I'm just going to go ahead and do, and that's what. So what I've got here is I've increased the surface area of that butter considerably, just by, and I'm gonna see. I think I'll just probably do one of these. I'm putting this in a bowl. And I'm going to go ahead and top that bowl with some saran wrap. And this is one task that I'm never good at, is tearing saran wrap. It's one you've got to...
I think it's just crazily hard to do.
Yeah. Your restaurant people are experts at this.
Well, they have those big restaurants.
They have those big restaurant rolls, and it's much easier if you can do that. So I'm going to kind of cover this with plastic wrap. And then... to the smoking gun. So this is a fairly simple device. There's a fan, there's a little smoke chamber where I've got some sawdust, And there are different kinds of sawdust here you can use. I've got some cherry wood over there, but mostly what I use is hickory because it's by far the strongest.
Just, like, sweeping this up from your home improvement.
No, I'm not. This is this actually was purchased for this purpose. But you could probably make some of your own if you were really that inclined. So what I'm going to do is go right under this this plastic wrap with my hose, and I'm going to turn on my fan, and then hit it with a lighter. Those of you who are degenerates from the
that looks familiar.
70s or so,
somewhere I've seen that before,
may have seen this process. So, and you can see the smoke billowing. See that smoke all coming out of there? Look at that. Look at that.
So cool.
So that's about all you need. You don't need to hit it hard because I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times here. I'm going to pull that out, close that off.
So that's just can we get a shot of this?
Yeah. So that's just a bowl of smoke in there with my butter. So that smoke is in there infusing that butter, and I'm also going to hit something else with it while I got it out. See that? In there.
What's that velvety brown goodness?
What's that brownest of the brown liquors right there? That's bourbon, baby. So because this is this show and this is me doing it, and so of course there's bourbon. So I'm going to turn my fan back on, and I'm going to hit this bourbon with a little smoke too. And again,
I can't wait to see what you're going to do.
So that's all kind of, and I do this in a big bowl because I want to kind of spread it out, and I like to slosh it around a little bit.
So you want there to be room for the smoke.
You want there to be room for plenty of smoke, and then you want to slosh it around to get that smoke kind of in contact with as much of that bourbon as humanly possible. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute, and then I'll probably hit those both again with a little bit more. So Jenny, what are you doing over here?
Well, I'm just actually chopping a little garlic for later, but when I was thinking about my favorite kitchen utensils, or my favorite kitchen gadgets, I guess, one of them is my Spätzle maker, which I forgot to bring last time. And I started to bring it just to show that, but I didn't. But I have recently acquired a waffle maker. So my sweet, wonderful boyfriend bought, actually my daughter, this waffle maker. And I pulled it out, and I'm kind of late to the game. There's you can go on Facebook or Google, and you can find these Will It Waffle, and people are waffling all kinds of things. They're waffling macaroni and cheese. They're waffling everything, really. And so this kind of intrigued me, and I'm not a big fan of sweet waffles or sweet things in general, really. I mean, I like a good piece of chocolate when the time comes, but in general, I prefer to have stuff that's savory. And so I've made a couple of different savory waffle batters. I have one here, and this one is a savory pumpkin spiced waffle batter. So it's got turmeric in it. It's got cayenne pepper. It's got a little nutmeg. It's got a little cinnamon. It's got a little cumin. It's got some salt. It's got.
So it's not just traditional pumpkin spice. It's
it's not just traditional pumpkin spice.
It's almost like a pumpkin curry.
Like a curry almost.
Yeah.
I didn't use curry powder, but that's what I was thinking. And then I also have a batter, and this one is buckwheat flour. So I love buckwheat flours for that. They just have a richer flavor. And this one has chives and cheese and buckweed in it.
And buckwheat has such a great color to it.
It has such a great color. And so
speckled Dalmatian color.
I'm going to just, this is non-stick, but I'm just going to brush it with a little oil. Ooh, that wasn't good.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I'm just going to brush it with a little
bit of oil. That's how you know it's a party.
And I'm going to pour my batter on it. And we'll waffle it.
Sweet. So, and all you got to do is just close that down. And so, what are you looking for in the waffle? You've got your lights on there. But
I have this waffle maker beeps when it's ready, and then if I don't think it's quite done enough, I'll smash it down on there again. But I made a couple of these earlier, and I'm looking for some crispiness on these waffles. So. I'm looking for a little bit of a crisp edge, a pretty darkened edge, and that it's cooked through, and that it's tasty. So.
And that's why you've got to get that waffle iron good and hot before you get.
And I've let it preheat for quite some time. And I love savory things, and so I'm going to serve this with some Old Home Place Farm collard greens.
Nice.
That I'm just going to do a gentle saute with some garlic. I'm really not going to do. I've got so much spice and so much flavor in the waffle batter that I'm really going to keep everything else pretty simple. And then I'm going to use my other favorite kitchen gadget, and I certainly use this one a lot more than I do my waffle iron. Coincidentally, my boyfriend bought me this one too, and I've gone through a couple of these. I've bought cheap ones and they haven't lasted, and this one's a because I didn't pay for it. It's a better one, right? So this is an immersion blender, and it can do several things. I can snap this on it, and I can use it right in a pot if I'm doing soups or something to blend stuff up. I can use it in this cup to, make smoothies. Not that I ever make smoothies, but, just funny to blend something up. I can also attach, this one's particularly nice because it has a whisk attachment that's good if I'm whisking up like a lot of eggs or a lot of something. And then my favorite thing about this one, though, is that it has this little food processor that hooks onto it. And so I can snap it on there and power this small food processor, which often is all I need. A lot of times I don't need my big food processor. I'm just making a little bit of something. And so what I'm going to do with this today is I'm going to make a really super simple roasted red pepper. I've just bought some jarred red peppers. You could, of course, roast your own, but I'm just going to puree these up, and that's going to go over the waffle.
Nice.
It's going to go over the whole thing, and then
that's
I've got
going to be pretty.
That
red color, yeah.
Pretty. I hope so.
Gorgeous.
So yeah, that's what I've got going on. I love this. I use this all the time. You use your immersion?
I use mine all the time. Yeah, I mean, anytime I make any kind of soups or, with just so many things, and they've transformed bartending when those things came around. They, especially tiki style bartending, they've been huge. So I'm coming back to my butter, and you can see that smoke has dissipated a little bit. And if I pull off my plastic wrap, you get a whole lot of butter, a whole lot out of there. So I'm gonna go back in.
So you're going to smoke it more than once.
So I'm going to give it a few doses here.
So what are some other things? You smoke bourbon, you smoke butter. What
smoke
other
bourbon,
things?
smoked. The things that work best are probably things with a lot of fat in them.
So like cheeses?
Cheeses work really well. I've done cheese and make smoked queso.
Oh my God.
That works really well. I've done some, sometimes just as a finish on some meats or something like that. Again, you're not going to get that deep penetrating smoke like you get from a smoker, but you can get just a little finish of it, especially if it's something fatty, like I've smoked cold cuts before.
Ooh,
like you could smoke, like if you made some pickled bologna or something like that, you could smoke that. That would be really interesting.
Idea.
But I'm going to get that in there. And what I'm going to make this into is something called a compound butter, which is something I think everybody should have. I usually have at least one of them in the fridge because it's so very useful. I mean, because you can,
and they keep really well.
They keep forever. They keep a long time.
You can roll them into a log and wrap them in Saran wrap and freeze them, and they are nice to just add some extra flavor to.
Roll them into a long tube, and then you can just have them ready to slice off and throw in whenever you want to. So that's pretty handy. But I'm going to give that another dose. So you're going with some garlic again.
I'm just going with garlic, just kind of getting it ready for when I do my collard greens later. I'm loving that it's fall and all the fall greens are coming in. So these are from Old Home Place Farm over in Oneida, and they're these beautiful collards, and I love them. They're kind of young and just really, really pretty. Mustard greens are coming in. I love I'm so happy that we have farmers who have high tunnels who can grow stuff all year long.
That's been a big thing, and that was something we were really pushing for in the farmers market several years ago, is that people would bring greens, and they've finally, they've all made it happen. So,
and I love it that
really
here
good.
at Hyman Settlement School, Corey Terry has tomatoes in his, and they're almost ripe, and it's November. You think you're not going to be able to get a good tomato till next summer, but
here it is.
Not around here. All kinds of good food stuff happening. Really, it's pretty exciting.
So I'm getting a little garlic together too, and I'll tell you, I came to appreciate food a little bit this week. Because I didn't have any for a couple of days, or I had a liquid diet for a couple of days, because yesterday I had a colonoscopy, which is somebody described it as it's like that long dolly shot in Goodfellas, except my pooper is the copa. But this was my. Because when you turn 45, I'll just tell you, when you turn 45, you're due for one, either a colonoscopy or there's something else called a Cologuard. And, I've had family members that I've lost to colon cancer, so this is something I really feel strongly about. If you're 45, talk to your doctor and get this, get this screening done. I had mine. It's a day or two of mild annoyance, but the procedure itself is nothing.
The procedure is nothing. So I'm 56, and so I had a colonoscopy, and my colon was like a sun-washed beach. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I kept the picture on my refrigerator for
I can see that. I can see that. Get some 5x7s. And
Jonathan's the doctor who did his colonoscopy has gone onto social media to talk about how
clean my colon was.
I mean, it's really
because I'm an overachiever by nature. So when it comes to colon prep, I really leaned into that.
It's just a matter, like you said, of aggressively planning to do nothing.
Yeah, really, you just don't plan to do anything else while you're, because I thought, well, maybe I could work. No, you can't work. Just Netflix,
just lean into it.
Bad television. Just lean in.
Preferably
and
on an iPad that you can carry with
on
you.
an iPad you can take with you, yeah, or hit pause every now and then. But But I'm just telling you, if you're 45, especially if you've had any family history or anything, get out there. If you do, get it done.
It's such an easy thing to do.
It's an easy thing to do, and it's something you don't have to worry about
really
for a while.
good.
So this is What's Cooking Now. We're coming to you from the Hyman Settlement School. We'll go to a commercial, and when we come back,
we can talk about my menopausal hot flashes.
Exactly.
Give the gift of Appalachia this holiday season from Hyman Settlement School, delivering decadent fruitcakes and Appalachian-sourced gift boxes to your door. Each purchase helps to fund services to increase access to traditional arts, promote food security, and improve children's literacy outcomes in Eastern Kentucky. View our full collection of gift boxes and fruitcakes at hyman.org/shop. The Red Spotted Newt is a locally owned independent bookstore located in downtown Hazard, Kentucky, specializing in Appalachian literature from authors such as Silas House, Gurney Norman, and Annette Clapsaddle, among many others. The Newt also offers a full collection of art and gifts, including Little Bubby Child prints and these sweet cards inspired by The Office. Check out their store located at 221 Memorial Drive in Hazard, or shop online through bookshop.org. And be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at the handle Red Spotted Newt.
And welcome back to What's Cooking Now, where food is love and love is delicious. I am once again applying a little smoke to my butter.
That smells so good.
Yeah, this is just good hickory smoke, and that's
really amazing.
I think that's what's so it's just a great flavor on about anything. And you can use other smokes are a lot more subtle. Mesquite has its own thing, well,
I love about this that I remember. There was that stuff, liquid smoke, and I thought it was kind of disgusting. It just had a really weird wang to it.
Yeah.
But there were times when I remember like my mom would use it to add a little flavor to sauces, and this just seems so much more authentic.
Yeah, liquid smoke is actually a fairly authentic product because it really is produced exactly like you'd imagine. Is that they sort of collect and condense,
and
sort of collect and condense smoke and make. So it's. But you're right. It does. It really overpowers if you don't use like the tiniest bit of it.
Yeah. And this just seems really, I love it. It smells really good.
So
I feel like I would want to just smoke all kinds of things. Like I would just
yeah, believe me, when we first got this, it was just like we were like
smoked olives?
We were like 19-year-old stoners. We were just like, we'll smoke anything.
Have you ever smoked olives?
Did we ever smoke any olives?
I don't think we ever did.
That sounds like that would
It
be
sounds
good.
fantastic. Now
I
that you
feel
mention
like you need to make like a smoked gin martini with smoked olives.
Yeah, that would be. We smoked all sorts of liquors. We smoked tequila is fantastic. That was.
Tequila's kind of smoky anyway.
Yeah.
So you're chopping up some sun-dried tomatoes.
Chopping up
here.
some
I
sun-dried
love
tomatoes. This is one of those things. Most of the reason why I have a Costco membership is because they sell these giant jars of them for like $8. Really, that's. And I use these all the time. But this is one of the things that I like to keep in my fridge for weeknights, and I'll show you why we'll talk in a minute about why, this is, what I'm doing here are some weeknight dishes that are, not complicated sorts of things. You just have to keep this, I'm chalking this up kind of fine because I'm going to use another of my favorite kitchen gadgets.
I love the BAMP.
This is the BAMP. That is big ass mortar and pestle.
And it's amazing. And it's, this is like when we were talking about what is a gadget. Is a gadget something that's complicated? Is it something that's...
Well... But
this is so basic and has been around for so long.
Here's the thing.
People have used mortar and pestle since they could probably pound rocks together.
People who know me know that I play some music when I'm not doing all this cooking thing or the doctoring. And but my two favorite instruments out there in the world are ukuleles, which are about as simple as you can get, and synthesizers that look like you could launch the space shuttle with them. I mean,
Right.
that's really, you know, I like synthesizers that you need degrees to understand. So, and you know, and I feel the same way about cooking gadgets. I either like them incredibly esoteric and, you know, weird, or, you know, two rocks that you bang together.
Which is what this is.
Which is what this is. It is a
And
rock
this
you
is
bang
beautiful.
with a rock. So I've got some garlic down in here.
And you just rough chopped it, but it's pretty.
Yeah.
And you're pounding, but you're also sort of.
Yeah,
giving it
yeah, you pound, the trick to this is you sort of pound and you get it down in there, and then you sort of do one of these and kind of get it back up. And could you do this in a food processor? Yeah, you could.
You know what though? No, you couldn't either, because a food processor gives it a completely different texture. A food processor makes it really uniform and smooth. And this leaves a little texture in there, which is going to be so nice mixed with that butter,
Yep.
you know? I'm lucky enough to have my ex-husband's grandmother's mokahate, and it's a beautiful thing, and I use it all the time, and really making like a salsa or something in it is completely different than whirring it up, cutting it
Yeah.
up. I mean, it just gives it a different texture.
And I'm actually going to also add to this. We've talked a lot on this show about Aleppo pepper in the past. Aleppo pepper is a little bit hard to get right now. This is called Urfa Biber.
I like the Urfa Biber too, and it's
Yeah.
sort of blacker, so it's
It
pretty
is.
on. I love to put it on eggs and things because it has that pop of color, and it's got a really good flavor.
Yeah, Urfa Biber is from Turkey. Aleppo, of course, from Aleppo in Syria, which which has been difficult to. Had its own difficulties in recent years. But I like to add some of that to this as well, just to. So I'm just mashing this up into a paste.
That looks amazing.
Now, what's also happening to my butter over here, in addition to smoking, it's also softening.
Right?
Especially since I see that woof.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I like that.
So it's also getting nice and soft. So once that gets soft, then we'll combine these two.
And I'll do the opposite of what you're doing. So whereas you are pounding to get that nice texture, I want a really smooth texture. So I'm just going to take this roasted red pepper out of this jar. And I'm really not going to add anything to this except for a little bit of lemon. I'm not even going to salt it because this is already so salty. Like I said, my waffles have so much flavor and so much spice that I really want to keep the red pepper simple and the collard green simple. So whereas you've got that nice texture, I'm going to go for something super smooth.
Something super smooth, and that's fine. You know, that's what gadgets do. They manipulate food to be what you want them to be. And I love jarred roasted red peppers like that.
That's something I like to really keep on hand.
That little hit of vinegar
yeah.
is great. There's a sauce called Romesco that I make with those all the time. That's roasted peppers like that with a little bread with some nuts. It's a Spanish thing you can use on seafood or about anything.
It's so good.
Yep.
I've had your Romesco and it's delicious. So I've got some of the buckwheat waffles, and then I've got some of the pumpkin waffles. And I'm going to serve these on a platter later, but I'm going to sit them in here to keep them warm so they can crisp a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put another waffle on. I love the idea of waffling pasta. I haven't done that yet. The macaroni and cheese waffle looks amazing to me. Because I love the crispy edges of things, and that's kind of what a waffle iron is.
Yeah, you're sort of creating a lot of that. I'm really fond of the falafel, or
I'm gonna
falafel
do that.
made
I have
into
not done that yet.
made into waffles. So you get just all that crispy outer part.
Yeah,
Of
I'm
the falafel.
100% going to try that next.
So I've got a little baguette here that I thought we would kind of give our butter a taste test.
Sounds like a good plan. I'm always down for a taste test.
So we'll see if we've taken up any smoke here. So here you go.
I can smell the smoke. I think so.
It's subtle, but you definitely get some, especially toward the middle. I'm going to give it one more dose.
I think you should.
But just the smoked butter on its own, it's pretty great. but we're going to doctor it up. And then I'll show you a nice, easy thing to do with it.
And I'm going to whir up my...
I love the little food processor because a lot of times things like that you just don't need a whole, you know, a whole big food processor because I just have the big one and, you know.
I really love this.
Yeah.
I use it probably so much more than I do my big food processor.
So I'm giving that one more dose. And thank you. And I've got a skillet started over here, and I'm going to be doing some fairly, what I'm going to do with this is some fairly simple fish, and show you just how you can, I'm cooking the fish, it's just the simplest, cheapest fish you can get. I'm cooking it as simply as you can possibly cook it, and then we're going to dress it up with this butter.
You know, that's the nice thing. You were talking about weeknight meals. I remember when my kids were small, they didn't like to eat a lot of adventurous stuff, and I didn't want to eat boring stuff. And so being able to have compound butters, really simple sauces, pestos in the fridge, you can do, you know, like a grain, a piece of protein, a vegetable, and then you can really transform it with a sauce, you know. So when the kids were little, we would serve, like, you know, maybe a piece of fish, maybe some rice, maybe some broccoli, or some kale or whatever, and then have some different sauces that you know that you can pull out. And that really does transform weeknight cooking because it elevates it, it makes it special. It's really quick to pan sear a piece of fish or something. You know, and so many people now aren't even eating grains. You just have your vegetables sort of prepared. I like the idea of having a nice dinner in the middle of the week.
Yeah, go ahead and get that.
So you've got tilapia over there?
I've just got some tilapia loins. We'll show you those. So these are just tilapia loins. This is about as some people call this a trash fish. I don't really like that very much, but but it's a bottom feeder. It's a very simple fish that's very cheap and is a perfect weeknight kind of fish. These are frozen. They've been thawed, patted dry. I'm cooking these as simply as you possibly can cook things. Really, I'm just adding some salt and some pepper to them. And I'm going to cook them in a hot skillet over here. Tamara probably going to. Everybody, please say hello to Tamara, our kitchen manager, and
she's the brains behind the operation.
She's definitely the work behind the operation. She is the one of us who fears it the least. So just some really simple fish. These are tilapia loins, which I think is half a fillet. I don't know. I don't really know fish butchery.
I don't know what a loin of,
It's one of those things that I want to learn one of these days. I'm going to get good at, like, they don't really have a loin
I'm not
so
really
much.
Sure.
But all I'm doing is salting and peppering these. And then we've got a skillet over there with got some oil going down in it. And yeah, we're just going to cook these on each. Yeah, just going to cook those till they're done. So keeping it as simple as humanly possible for those. So if you had
that compound butter made, this would really be just a matter of...
This would be a matter of 15 minutes. Once that fish is, if you've got that fish thawed, maybe you put that out earlier, or you can, run it underwater. You can just run those little pieces of fish underwater for 15 minutes in there, and they'll thaw in no time.
So I'm going to cut my collards up, and these are so beautiful. These are really young, beautiful collards. And I like the stems. I just take the stems off because I think they're really tasty. And sometimes, in fact, I'll save the stems and do something with those. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of roll them up so they're sort of in a cigar shape. And I'm just going to take my knife and I'm just going to do sort of a chiffonade. I'm not doing a small chiffon. This is maybe, is it not a chiffonade if it's not little?
No, I think that counts as a chiffonade.
As I come down closer to where the bigger stems are, I'm going to cut it a little more tightly. Because I don't want huge chunks of stem. But I'm just going to go right down. And I'm just going to saute these with just a little olive oil.
So how simple was that? I mean, a lot of people really fear, prepping greens.
Here's the thing about greens. If you get greens from Maggie,
they're ready to go.
I admit this on air? I don't wash her greens. She washes them. They come there. They're always clean. They're always beautiful. Same thing from the Happy Hens. They're absolutely beautiful, and they don't take a lot of prep. You know?
They're ready to go.
I don't like to wash greens. It takes a long time, and I'm not really interested in it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my skillet. let it be heating up a little bit.
Meanwhile, I've got my last dose of. I've got that last dose of butter, so so here's my ground up butter, and I'm gonna scoop out my. And the best tool for doing this with, honestly, is clean hands.
Because then you can really feel that you're.
Then you can really get in there. If you can feel it, you can mix all that up with your hands. You want to try to not squeeze too hard because you don't want it to really melt.
Right.
But you can get it all together, and then you can put it back in the fridge or back in the freezer if you want to.
Oh my God, that looks so good.
That is. So, and all I've got in here, this is sun-dried tomatoes, a couple cloves of garlic, and some of that Urfa Beaver pepper. So, have just a taste of that.
I feel like I should just wipe your hand with my bread.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is my favorite compound butter, and this is I like this just for bread. And actually, I'll tell you, if you replace that butter with cream cheese, you have the best bagel topping in human history.
Really good.
This is that is my favorite bagel. Or just at a party, just scoop that out with wheat thins, and that's the best thing ever.
Ooh, that is good eating.
It's about time for a second commercial. So while I go wash my hands, and Tam's got the fish going back there, we'll throw to that. This is what's cooking now. Coming to you from Heinemann Settlement School,
where food is love and
love is delicious. Be right back.
Join the Pick and Bow family at Heinemann Settlement School. For the past 5 years, our Pick and Bow Mountain Music Education Program has provided free music lessons to students interested in learning how to play acoustic instruments. Our fall 2021 lessons are about to start. Any 4th through 12th grade students residing in Knott or Floyd County are invited to participate. Students have the option to learn guitar, fiddle, mandolin, banjo, mountain dulcimer, or ukulele. Lessons take place on Mondays and Wednesday evenings at 5:30, and you can sign up for the day that works best for your schedule. These virtual lessons take place on Zoom. If you have a device with a webcam and an internet connection, you're all set. A limited number of loaner instruments are available from the Heinemann Settlement School. Our first week of lessons begins October 11th, but you can always sign up later in the semester. Go to heinemann.org/calendar to register. See you soon.
Give the gift of Appalachia this holiday season from Heinemann Settlement School, delivering decadent fruitcakes and Appalachian-sourced gift boxes to your door. Each purchase helps to fund services to increase access to traditional arts, promote food security, and improve children's literacy outcomes in Eastern Kentucky. View our full collection of gift boxes and fruitcakes at heinemann.org/shop.
Welcome back. What's cooking now?
I am super excited about all the Heinemann Settlement School boxes that they've got. My Christmas shopping is done.
Yeah, really. I mean,
They're
those.
really
You know what?
amazing.
Those are not stuck on container trucks, container ships.
That's exactly
out
right.
in the Pacific.
Those are local.
Those are right here.
I love to, and they'll ship. So I love for my friends that live out of state. I feel like that's a really Kentucky.
Give them a
They've got
little,
so many great ones.
just a little touch
Yeah.
of the mountains.
Some of them are themed to different authors. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to saute my my collard greens, and I don't want to saute them too much. Would you care to grab me some tongs? Yeah.
These are nice young collards, so you don't really have to cook the crap out of them.
And I really considered not cooking them at all and instead making a salad, but I was afraid you'd make fun of me because I always make salads all the time. So
fish got to swim.
yeah, they do. So I've got just a little bit of red pepper flakes that I'm going to put in with these. Thank you so much. And a little bit of garlic. And I'm just going to hit my pan with a little bit of olive oil.
We're making it difficult.
Sorry.
See, we're already getting used to having this giant kitchen.
I know, right?
We're already, when we did the show before, we were in a kitchen about the size of, I don't know,
the dishwasher.
tenth of what we're doing. Yeah, the dishwashing room over there. It wasn't.
Slightly larger than the stove.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
So
much though.
so we're not used to that. So we got that garlic going in.
Got the garlic, and I don't want the garlic to burn or get too brown, but I do want it to get a little crisp. So I'm good with that, and I'm just going to stir this around a little bit. Like I said, I don't want to cook it much. And I really, when I made these pumpkin waffles, the last time I made them, I did do it with a salad. I had some really nice greens that were fairly sturdy. And I just did a really simple apple cider vinaigrette, and served the waffles sort of with the salad. And it was really good. And I did a poached egg on top of it. I kind of thought you would actually bring your... I was surprised you didn't bring your sous vide, Jonathan.
Well, most things in the sous vide take longer than we have.
Yeah.
So I considered it, but it is one of my favorite things is the immersion circulator. It's and you know what I use my circulator for as much as anything?
What?
For thawing.
Really?
Because because you can thaw a pound of hamburger in 20 minutes. And
really?
And
That's
it's
amazing.
So it's just if you live out of your freezer, it's a wonderful thing to have.
I remember back in the day, we did a show at Apple Shop where we had broken the kitchen, and the kitchen didn't work at all, and so we
broke the kitchen. I think the kitchen kind of broke itself, and
well,
added the last straw to the campus.
That is the narrative that you are.
Yeah, that's where I'm.
I will
That's where
embrace
I'm.
it. But anyway, we did a show where we couldn't use anything in the kitchen, and so I think I made something in a hot pot, but Jonathan used his marital sous vide, which sous vide machines used to be a lot more expensive, so they've come down in price and regular people can afford them now, but at this time they were still pretty expensive. And so his sous vide machine was Tam
Holding a cooler.
holding a cooler with a hot pot of water
And a
an
thermometer in
instant read
it.
thermometer, constantly circulating it and pouring water in to keep it at the right temp. And it was perfect. It worked great.
It worked. We cooked steak like that.
So I think these are done, and I'm just going to pile them in the middle of this platter. I'm going to hit them with a little lemon juice first, actually, and just a little bit of salt.
That little bit of acid makes
My
greens
sister
work.
Annie, if she's watching, we get in fights all the time about how much salt you should put on things, and she's like, "You have to salt it, or it doesn't taste right." And I just always feel like there are some things which, yes, you need to salt during cooking, but really you can always add more salt at the table. And I am vain, as I can possibly be, but I'm not vain enough to think that I can season everybody's food exactly the way they want it. And so I try not to oversalt. I love salt. I would put so much salt on everything.
She considers salt a food group.
But I do try not to oversalt things when I'm cooking them so that other people can salt it to their taste at the table.
Those are pretty.
Ooh, those are pretty.
Meanwhile, Tam's got our fish over here in the skillet, and just cooking this. Like I said, this is as simple as humanly possible. Just a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper, because the butter is what's going to make that sing. And if you have somebody in the house who just wants something simple and they don't want to, then they've got it. It's right there.
Got my waffles waffling.
So Jenny, I'm a little thirsty. How about you?
I could use something.
Well-
I never say no to a little something.
Well, now you recall that we had some bourbon,
I remember. I
In
do
this,
remember
in this thing.
you were doing something with some bourbon.
and I've transferred it to this thing, to this that I can pour out of. One trick that I do is I don't like to smoke all the bourbon that I have, because it is possible to overdo it. It's possible to try it and say, man, that's a lot of smoke. But I have tried this. I think this is going to be about right. And you can do so many things with this. You could, I think drinking it straight is a little weird. I don't love it straight like this. But you can make a Manhattan with it, and certainly the Manhattan is something that we'll talk about.
I bet there's a way to use this with some of those Amaros that we had last time.
I'm certain there is.
Fabulous.
I'm certain there is, but I thought, I've done kind of fancy cocktails up until now. I wanted to do more of a weeknight, again, a weeknight kind of cocktail. So I'm doing the what has been known in different places as the Kentucky Highball, or what I like to call the double wide. And I thank the folks at Winchell's in Lexington, a fantastic place to eat, for that name, who came up with the name, the double wide. But the double wide is simply bourbon and Ale 8 won. That's right. Ale 8 for bracing pep.
People call that a lot of different things. So we were talking about this. I've always known it as the double wide, but some of our tasting panel and tech crew have known it as
Kentucky Swamp Water, I
Swamp
believe, was the
but
name.
But it's really a beautiful. What is bourbon and ginger ale called? Does that have a name?
I mean, I'm not even sure. I think it's just a bourbon and ginger. If you add bitters to it, it's called a horse's neck.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm going to do this. I think, and what I think.
I love that you have also the commemorative.
And this is such a Kentucky cocktail that I think you have to serve it in
commemorative
derby glasses. This is my party glassware. Because you go after the derby, and you can find these for like 50 cents a piece for that year. Once they're done. So we back in the day, so we bought a whole bunch of these, and this is just our party glassware. So I'm going to add a little, and this is not one that I'm going to, and this is a highball drink, which means it's in a tall glass. And it's usually just liquor and some sort of lengthener, as they say, and that's the Ale 8. I think the Ale 8 really brings out the smoke. I love Ale 8 in ginger cocktails because to me, it sort of sits right in the middle. You get your Canada Dries and that sort of thing are just a little boring, but then your things like
ginger beers,
your crazy ginger beers and all that tend to be a little aggressive. So I think that Ale 8 sort of sits right in the middle. Another favorite gadget.
So good, I can smell the.
Another favorite gadget is the giant long bar spoon. What does this accomplish that a smaller bar spoon does not? For one thing, it does have a little fork on the end, so you can get your olives out.
To get your olives out.
Also, looks pretty cool.
It does look very cool.
So I'm going to stir, and when you stir cocktails like this, you really want to get around the edge. You want to go around the edge of the glass. You don't want a lot of noise. You don't want to hear that. You want to
Why
sort
is
of
that?
well, because then you're going to melt a lot of ice, and as you're doing this, you want to sort of move the ice as a unit.
That makes sense.
All right.
I before I met you, Jonathan, I didn't know that there was a right way to shake a cocktail, and I didn't know there was a right way to stir a cocktail.
Well, you're
so I'm
just
glad
happy I came along.
Complete for so many reasons.
So there it is. That is the double wide with smoked bourbon or the trailer fire. Oh, and that smoke hits early on.
That's so good. It's so refreshing.
And that just says campfire to me, but it's also kind of a late fall. To me, this is kind of an early fall, sort of a transitional drink. Because it could be a summer drink, but it's also just, it gives you that.
Smoke takes it into fall.
That smoke takes it into fall, makes you think about sitting outside with the trees and, yeah, that's nice.
Always so delicious. That's amazing.
That is delicious. So you're still waffling over there.
So I'm still waffling, not quite done. I've got some sausages that I'm heating up here to put on the edges of my plate. So these are some chicken Cajun sausages that I got on sale at our favorite crazy place to shop. Can we talk about it? Yugo, yeah, United Grocery Outlet, where you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, it's perfectly random. We're talking about doing a Yugo challenge on this show.
I think we should. We're going to do that. That's going to happen.
Yeah, we are sending Les and Tamara to Yugo to buy stuff, and then Jenny and I have to cook with it.
For a while, they reliably had rabbit, which was kind of cool.
Ooh,
I haven't
really?
checked. Yeah, and frog legs. You can get frog legs there.
I've not seen that.
I do love a good frog leg.
I love a good frog leg as well.
So Tamara's cooking these, and these fish loins don't take very long. These were pretty frozen. They're still a little bit frozen on the inside, so maybe take a little longer than most. But they should be should have some about ready to go.
Yeah, there's 2 of them that are pretty well ready.
So we'll pull those off shortly and get a little butter on them.
So, is the butter gonna like melt over the fish?
The butter will melt over these fish, especially if you get it on there while they're warm.
It's hot.
So see, I've got a couple of these fish here, and again, nothing fancy, salt and pepper, but those still look really good. And I'm just going to drop a little of my compound butter right on top of each one of those. And this butter will live in the fridge for a long time.
That's the nice thing about butter is it really, it wouldn't live in my fridge for a long time. It kind of almost preserves things. That looks amazing. Yum. I'm going to get a fork here and taste that. And this is really pretty too.
For a weeknight, a weeknight dish.
That's perfect. That's really good.
The kind of weeknight dish you'd pay, $18 for at a decent restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. And it's so simple. That's really good. That's delicious.
And again, fish you can find anywhere.
And that could go on anything. That could go on anything. That could go on chicken. It could go on beef. It could go on anything. It could go on tofu or it could go on pasta.
I like it on toast in the morning with eggs.
It's so good. Are they hot enough? I wanted them to sort of blister a little bit.
Yeah, they're blistering fairly well for you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plate mine up. I'm sorry.
She's not sorry.
We are doing our
I
best to
am.
confound the cameramen tonight.
I am.
We do appreciate our tech crew.
Yes, we do. So I'm going to take some of
These savory waffles that are going
Savory
around this.
waffles.
Oh, that is pretty.
let's see, I want to do both kinds.
Oh, that looks like it just came out of the pages of something.
Oh, I haven't even hit it with the
Yeah,
color
and she's
yet.
not even put the color on there yet.
It needs more color than that?
It's going to have more
It's gonna
color
get it.
than that, whether it needs it or not. And then
There
I'm
we
just
go.
going to spoon. Oops.
Just get that, get that sauce over all this, and oh,
And so this is really pretty. I'm actually going to just sort of cut the sausages a little bit. And then this would be a pretty dish to take to the table like this, and then you can serve
let people
it
go
up.
at it.
So let me get a little plate. Can I entice any of our tasting panel to come and have a plate? Come on over. So now tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Kat, and I just moved here to Hyman, so I'm actually really excited.
Where did you move from?
I moved from Lexington, originally from Louisville.
So we're
Wow.
excited to have you like Eastern Kentucky.
I like it a lot.
You do?
It's a big adjustment, I'd say, but I love it though. It's really beautiful.
It is
here.
really beautiful.
And I love all the trees and how they're changing right now. It's
Yeah.
the best thing.
Yeah. And that's pretty in Central Kentucky too, but it's a special kind of pretty
Yeah,
with the
it
mountains.
really
When I
is.
went out earlier before the show, the sun was starting to set, and I was looking sort of over Uncle Saul's cabin, and I could see just the
It's a
top of the
beautiful,
mountain. We
like,
had this
red
beautiful, yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous.
When you just
All right, so
really
we're going to
start
give you a little bit of
putting
each.
it here,
So this is the buckwheat cheese chive, and then this is the spiced pumpkin, and then we're just going to put, do you eat meat?
I do.
We'll put a little piece of sausage, and then we want to give you plenty of the red pepper sauce, because the idea here is that to eat this, what you'll do, or I mean, you eat it, you eat it how you want. My suggestion is that you'll take sort of a little bit of the collards and sort of pile it and then sort of eat that like it's a little, you know what I mean?
I want to try this.
So use
Like
the
it's a
waffle
little
as
taco.
a little
So here,
bread.
I'll do it with you. Jonathan, you want one?
Yeah, definitely.
Which kind of do you want?
Oh, surprise me.
Okay, I'm not even like getting a plate. And then we could even slice that sausage up smaller and put slices
If you wanted
on
to.
it. Oops, I'm gonna slice at least one piece of a little small. I'm gonna go with I've tasted both of these, and I think I like the buckwheat one better.
I don't know. They're both pretty good.
Pretty great.
So what do you think, Kat?
This is so good.
Mm.
Wow. I love these flavors together.
hmm
It's pretty simple.
It's a simple thing, but that could be brunch.
I love the red pepper on top of the kale. It really brings it in.
So easy to do too.
Would you like to try some fish?
Of course I will.
Well, let me.
That's a beautiful plate, everyone.
Here you go.
So,
this is-
Jonathan, before we do our next show, it'll be Thanksgiving. Do you guys have Thanksgiving plans? What will you do for Thanksgiving, Kat?
I think we're actually going back to my family in Waffles, so we're going to hang out with them there. Have a good day.
What are some traditional Thanksgiving foods that you eat at your family? Like, what's if you had to name one thing at your Thanksgiving that makes it Kat's family's Thanksgiving that you can't find anywhere else, what would it be?
Oh gosh. I'll split this as a two-parter.
Mhm.
So the first one is my mom likes to make lasagna with pepperonis inside of it. It's my favorite thing. And then my mom, my grandmother, she likes to make this lemon head cake, which is just like the candy lemon head on top of this like homemade green icing on just normal yellow cake. It is to die for.
That sounds
That
fantastic.
sounds to die for. That sounds amazing. That sounds really good.
Speaking of to die for, I have to try some of this.
That butter is just.
It looks, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Let me get this in my mouth. Oh wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Those tomatoes just.
It's so simple.
Yeah,
but
it's a
so
simple
good.
thing, but those
Yeah.
tomatoes just have a lot of umami to them and have a lot of a little bit of sweet, just enough sweetness. So,
Just the richness of the butter against.
so yeah, that's just one of my favorite compounds
Sure.
of all time.
I
And
can
the
see
fish
why.
is seasoned so simply that
Yeah.
it actually brings it out even more.
Exactly. So that's, we just wanted to keep that fish as simple as we possibly could. I could have, fancied up the fish, put something on it, but no, salt and pepper, that's it.
You know, and
Little
a
oil.
lot of times that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times what we want is we want something really simple that we can pull together quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I always say Jonathan's an amazing cook. He can do everything. He's got good knife skills. He knows everything about seasoning. He's just a really good cook. And I always say that I don't think I'm really a very good cook, but I can put food together, right? I can find good food. I can get collards from a local farmer that are so delicious they don't need a lot of stuff. So what are you doing for Thanksgiving, Jonathan?
I'm going to my sister. My sister's also in Louisville, and going to be, cooking. Ours is very traditional. Ours is, turkey. I think it's to me, it's dressing. To me, the dressing is kind of what makes Thanksgiving into, what it is. It's the that I probably that I would very much miss if it were gone. And there are a lot of other things, and I'm, a lot of people think the turkey kind of sits on the sideline. I think I turn out a pretty good turkey myself. So I always get excited about the.
I'm really excited.
about
I
the
got a turkey from some farmers
Yeah, I
in Menifee
saw that.
County this year.
I saw that,
So,
and I'm
I'm ashamed to admit I can't remember the name of the
Yeah.
farm, but I'll post it in What's Cooking Now.
Yeah.
They may have some left, but I'm excited to get a good local turkey for
Mm-hmm.
this year, and I'm just excited to be able to gather a little more normally this year. I think than we have.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing, just to be able to not worry so much about
Yeah, I
about
hope,
it this year, and be
anyway.
able to actually. So I think we're about to wrap it up. We're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. So we want to thank everybody who has joined us here today. Kat, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
for having
as
me.
always to our fantastic technical crew who are just chomping at the bit to get over here and eat some of all this.
And to Tamara, who does.
And
all
to
the
Tamara,
work, the brains of the
who
operation.
just is the certainly the brains and the brawn. She kind of does it all. You can check us out on Facebook. Find the What's Cooking Now is on Facebook. You can check out the Heineman Settlement School as always. I want to thank the Kentucky Humanities Council who have who are out there funding this whole thing, and thank everybody from the Heineman Settlement School for having us over here. And
just for existing and having such great programs and such amazing things. I really love Eastern Kentucky.
I do.
And I love all the things that are going on and all the good local food that we can get and all the fun things. Last night we were down at the art station in Hazard listening to music, and there's a lot going on. So get out there and remember that to feed the ones you love and love the ones you feed, and come back to us where food is love.
and love is delicious. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Good night.
What's Cooking Now is a production of Heineman Settlement School, with funding provided by the Kentucky Humanities Council. Heineman Settlement School is committed to cultivating and growing the local food system and the unique culinary of Central Appalachia through our foodways programs. For more information on our work, visit us at www.hyman.org, and be sure to tune in to What's Cooking Now on the first Thursday of each month to see what's cooking.